Alright guys, so it's Wednesday afternoon. So I pressure washed the transmission and the frame rails on the truck a little bit ago, and it just didn't clean out the engine as good as I was hoping. I used oven cleaner, which usually, well, every time I've ever done it before, it's cleaned the metal really nice, but it just didn't do it on this one. So I'm gonna have to end up doing this thing again. And I let that oven cleaner set probably 30-40 minutes before I sprayed it, you know, with the pressure washer, so it should have done its job, but it did not. So anyway, I cleaned all the surfaces off pretty good. This is kind of weird. This pad right here usually has numbers stamped in it, and it has nothing. There's nothing there, which is kind of odd. So it doesn't really matter, but anyway, so I'm definitely going to have to clean the inside of this engine out really well, because when you run your hands over it, when you rub on that, it's traces of oil still in there, and it had sludge still in between the lifter slots, and I had to take a flat blade screwdriver to that to scrape it out, and I held that pressure washer down in there and it still didn't clean it. So, well, now the crappy job of cleaning up all the bolt holes. So I've got a thread cleaner here. Definitely a good idea to do this on for sure your head bolt holes. This will cause if they're dirty, it'll cause the wrong torque, basically. So I cleaned the block yesterday, pressure washed it and everything. It's not very clean, so I went and bought 5 gallons of purple power, and I've got my plastic tote over there. So I am going to submerge this thing, but I'm going to clean all these bolt holes first. I got the rear freeze plugs out. I have to clean up my mess because now it's getting hard to find tools. This little runt got walked today. She's panting. I wasn't sure if that engine was going to fit in that tote, but it sure did. here it is, cleaned up. I'll have to blow it off again. Well, it's still got traces of that Pennzoil back here. I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed and even used a Scotch-Brite with degreaser on it. Wouldn't take it off. That's how that stuff sticks to metal, I guess. I don't know, man. So I'm gonna have to try to clean that off again. I'm just gonna do it by hand with a microfiber. Microfibers don't shred, especially if they're washed. I've got some that have been washed. That's what I've been using, but it doesn't, you know, shed lint all over everything, because this cast block has a lot of sharp edges, and it'll, if it's a brand new rag, it'll sure put some lint all over the place. A little bit of grease up in here too I need to clean out. Let's try to do it by hand with microfiber and some carb cleaner. But it's pretty clean. I'm pretty happy with that overall. I feel like the oil galleys is pretty cleaned out, so I guess the block must have busted a hole in my tote. It's out there. That thing's about 2 years old. It's washed a lot of engine parts for sure. So, and I just keep it out there in my fenced area, so it's kind of dry rotted from the sun, so it doesn't surprise me. So I went in the house and got another one. I'm going to be a dead man unless I can clean this up without any trace of anything ever been in there, because that is the totes we keep in the closet that has our bedding in there. Like our winter bedding, our heavy blankets and stuff. So it was all I had, so I had to do it. I was losing my purple power because I knocked a little hole in the bottom of it, so it was starting to run out. So instead of losing, you know, $25 worth of purple power, went in there and dumped all the stuff out of that. And as a matter of fact, I better go in there and pick all that stuff up and maybe stick it in the other bedroom and close the door so she don't see it when she comes home for lunch. Fortunately for me, she don't watch my videos entirely. So I soaked this in degreaser over there for, it's been in there for a couple of hours. And then I pulled it out and I washed it with the hose, just rinsed it off. And then I ran a little brush down through all the oil galleys in it. So I'm gonna, when I get done polishing it here, I'm gonna remove the gear, the old timing gear. And I'm gonna put it back in the degreaser and let it soak for a little bit. And then I'm gonna wash it, or scrub brush it real good because it's still got oil residue on it. And then pull it back out, rinse it, and brush the galleys out again, and then air dry it again. So it's a lot of doing stuff over and over, really, to do this at home to get it clean. Can't really just one and done it as much as I'd like to. There's my Summit parts. Here's the squeaky brakes. That's how you tell when a UPS truck's at your house. I don't even need to ring the doorbell because I hear the squeaky brakes. How's it going?
Sir. Want me to set it down or? All right, thank you.
See you.
Have a good one.
They all fell out of their main box on there. So there's the cloys, whatever you call it, overroller timing chain. That was the Clevite 10 rod bearings. This should be the Clevite 10 main bearings. O10. Got my Hastings piston rings. These are just cast. I don't do molly rings. And here's the new Excel ignition coil. Ooh, I even got some race stickers. That'll make that truck run 10s with them stickers on the windows. Looks just like the factory one. Alright. Now maybe that one will last a little bit longer than that MSD one did. I will say one thing, when I put that MSD coil in there, that the truck idled better, it started easier. Really nice. Oh, here's the timing cover set with the micro sleeve. I didn't think of what I was trying to say. Things are paper thin pieces of metal that you put on there, and it comes with a little bit of stuff there to smear on it. So I usually get it placed on there pretty level, laying flat on the ground. Then I'll take a block of wood and stick on there, and then I'll hit it with my dead blow, and it usually gets it on there pretty easy. Well, I should have me a rotating assembly together on this engine tomorrow. I'll be able to get all the pistons and everything in it now. That's pretty cool. I need to finish polishing this crank jaws. All right, I decided to go ahead and at least try to get the bearings in the block, and I went ahead and washed the crank and blew it off and wiped it down again. So I'm going to go ahead and at least set the crank on here, and that way I can cover it all up with the trash bag instead of laying the crank in here, putting it in a separate bag. So right now I've got these bearings I just pulled out of the box. And if you've never built a small block before, it's pretty easy to do your main bearings, because half of the bearings will have holes in them like this. So you know, right here in your block where your bearing goes, there's the hole to match up with that one. So they also have a little tang off the side, or locator tab, whatever you want to call it. You'll see a little indent in the block right there. So I just stick them in there and do this. Now I'm not going to plastic gauge this tonight. I'm just basically going to put these in and then lay the crank in it tonight and wrap it in a bag, and that way it's supported and it's put away and dust free basically. I know some guys that, actually a friend of mine was telling me that one of his buddies sands that coating off there, and I don't do that, I just leave it. Everybody's different when it comes to building engines, especially when you're building it in your driveway out in the open with the wind blowing dust everywhere. So I'm not going to put any lubrication on this because I'm going to be plastic gauging this tomorrow. As I said, I'm just wanting to place this in here tonight so it'll be supported and out of the way. I already got a problem with it not wanting to fit. Oh, there it is. I just had it in the bind. Okay, that is good enough. And that crank polished out really nice, man. I'm pretty happy with it. I wish I'd have had more sandpaper so I kind of went through the grades and done it like I usually do, but I'm out. I don't have a vehicle and it's not that big a deal to me. Well, tomorrow it should be, the bottom end should be together. That'll be freaking awesome. Use my expensive engine building bags here from Dollar General, lawn and leaf. Okay guys, that is it for me tonight. I am in need of some Tylenol and some rest.